Literally, he's driving around Long Island, just like in Stranger Things, locating these radio frequencies that are dropping all the power of his psychics.
No time better than the president. There's no time better than the president.
Why?
Is that
a saying you've heard?
No, it's no time like the president. I said president.
Yeah, I know what the actual saying is. You're just a funny guy.
I'm just trying to get ready, loosen myself up.
You don't do that.
Day today. All right. Well, cheers, me, sir. What do you got here?
Oh, me, I'm drinking friggin' Bullet Baby.
Cheers.
Bullet to babies. What are you drinking, dude?
Fernet Branca.
You're drinking Fernet?
Yeah.
God damn it.
Why?
You've always just said how much you didn't want to be a mixologist. But
I've
feel
always
like
really loved Fernet, though.
Oh, I want to have a hat, like the MILF hat, Movers and Shakers has the Man I Love Fernet hat, and I want to wear it at work.
Well, I just
so people know.
So if you notice, I'm in a different area of my house. I'm pinned myself in the corner because the way we had to record today, as you can see, I got these cool sleeves. So I'm wearing my Broncos jersey. So I positioned myself to be able to watch.
Out of your peripherals.
Currently, I've got the TV with the game that's about to start.
Sunday night football, baby. Only football puts Jamie in the corner.
Exactly. And so also, I am right next to my bar cart in my kitchen. So I just
look at that.
I kind of peered over, and I was went to grab the tequila, and I was like, you know what? I kind of want some Fernet because I did have a Chipotle cheesesteak for lunch.
I thought you were gonna say some kind of Chipotle liqueur, and I was like, that is crazy.
No, I had a cheesesteak, as we do in Philadelphia, for lunch.
No shit, yeah.
And my stomach was a little rumbly, so I
dude, get yourself a nice little digestif.
So I figured I'd just do a little Fernet, and then I didn't think I was going to get called a hipster or a mixologist.
Hey,
here we are.
Fernet about it.
Fernet. Well,
you didn't like
that?
What
else? You know what's Fernet? You know what else is about Fernet? It's a great subject breaker. So, with that being said, hello everyone. My name is Jamie, and that is Peter.
Oh, I'm Peter.
And,
sorry, I didn't realize you were. I thought you were going to say something else. Jamie, the wonderful Jamie, the gentleman James.
No, I don't have any of those cool nicknames. But I am one of your hosts from a glorious episode of Horror Whiskey Company. Are we a shirt company? Dude. Maybe. Are we a whiskey company? Maybe. Do we just kind of podcast under that kind of name? Yes. We'll go from there.
We definitely do that. That's not a maybe.
So cue me and the audience, for all the listeners from before, or maybe new listeners, kind of tell us what brought them here? What made them click on this video and go, hey, I want to listen to this? Because we got some cool shit that everyone's talked about before, but why is it pressing now, sir? And I'll leave you with that.
We are covering the Montauk Project tonight, which is we've talked about this here and there, and I've heard a couple podcast episodes, we've seen some articles and stuff like that. But what really caught my attention is that just this last week, the newest and the final season of Stranger Things has debuted. I didn't know this, but as I'm watching the show, I'm thinking, wow, what is the basis for all this? And then we find out that the show was actually initially called Montauk. And that's why we're talking about maybe my favorite conspiracy of the Cold War era in America that I've ever heard, the Montauk Project, which is a whole thing about mind control and using people's brains to amplify emotions and electromagnetic fields, and one crazy guy at the middle of all of it who claimed that he forgot that he did all these fucked up things, and then next thing you know, he's writing a whole book about it.
That was a lot. Holy shit. I thought you were just going to do a little bit. I'm like, oh man, so I was timing him. I'm like, he's going to keep going. That was great. No.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted more or less or.
No.
Because, I don't want to spoil it.
I just wanted a quick snippet to let people know, to kind of hook them in, tell them to keep listening. And then you got there in so many words.
In other words, we are covering the Montauk Project, aka like Stranger Things.
Yeah, so it's Stranger Things is loosely based on, just because of, I would say just like the underground layer kind of thing from Stranger Things. I don't think Vecna is going to be coming out of Montauk, even though there are some weird things they have.
I don't know. I've seen the first 4 episodes of the new season, and I can say that they're getting closer and closer to this story.
You got through all 4? Hot damn, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
All right.
Yeah, dude. We had a very special. So we did Thanksgiving earlier in the week because family was in town earlier in the week, and then on Thursday we did Stranger Things Giving. And we bought a bunch of crab legs and made like the shadow monster, and then some steaks, and made these cool like cookies that look like they were from the Upside Down. And then we just watched all 4 of the Stranger Things episodes.
Isn't it fun to do that?
It's super awesome. I had a great time.
Right?
It was, like, highlight.
I was gonna like give you a hard time about, like taking my Frankenstein night and just like stealing my idea and making it Stranger Things, but I don't know.
Share, dude. Just share.
I am just as excited that you did that, because it really adults the piss out of us. Because we're like, that's exactly how excited we are to watch a movie and then cook something and make drinks that are according to it.
Yep.
So I don't want to cut you off.
We also
but I think
did
this
that.
Is a wonderful segue into asking you what you're chugging right now. Because you're on a race or something.
Bullet bourbon. That's what I got, baby. Same
what
thing.
Else you drinking? Just Bullet?
No, I still got the last of these MX lagers. Yep.
Cool.
Still cruising through those. Yeah. The 4-pack is really lasting me a long time.
Oh, Jesus. Well, I'm double dipping.
What are you drinking, dude?
Often do. So I've got myself a New Trail Crisp Lager Lime.
Can I see it?
Yeah. So
it's neutral.
It's a beer. So it's just it's kind of like when Garage
it's not
Beer
a
came
seltzer.
with the Garage. No, I'm back to beers again. I'm just happy with who I am. I decided.
New Trail, not neutral.
Yeah, like New Trail Crisp Lime.
Oh,
it's brewed out of Williamsport, Pennsylvania, and it's
dude,
it's a 15-pack, and it's got a little hints of lime because they're woke. They're woke here, so they don't call them Mexican lagers.
15-pack.
Yeah.
What? That's crazy. A half rack. Love it.
Yeah, it's like
I've always only seen beers in 6, 12, 18s, 24s, and 30s. I've never seen this 15 thing. What is the box shape?
I buy 15 packs all the time.
Like it. What do they put it in? What is there's a box like a square, and then it has like one little spot for the extra beer?
Do you want to see it?
Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe I just don't understand why you would have an uneven number of beers in a box.
It's just a little bit longer, so you can just fit 3 more on the side.
They have 3 rows of 5.
Yes, there we go.
All right, that makes sense. All right. See, I thought they were doing like, I don't know, like 2x7s, and then all of a sudden there was just one more, like it like had like a little growth on the side of the box or something for the extra beer. I'm stupid, obviously.
Oh, that's okay. I think you're pretty smart.
Hey, man, you don't have to. You don't have to do that.
I prepared a cocktail for tonight, as I
dude. This is the main event.
So I always upstage you because you never prepare cocktails as much as I do.
That's not true. I've done a couple.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm starting to think about so I wanted to do New York themed.
Yep.
Because it's kind of Montauk.
We are on Montauk. Yeah.
And I wanted to not leave my house. So I had to work
really hard and put your little brain to work.
So
another classic Montauk thing. You can't head to the city.
Yeah. So
you gotta stay on Long Island.
As you can see, it's kind of stopped away, but it's still got a little frothy berth on there. And it's a little red,
dude.
Beautiful baby.
Yeah.
So what we have here
is... Get that thing close to the camera there. Can you get it? I really would like to... Don't spill it on your computer, though. Okay.
It's kind of layered itself.
Dude, it's beautiful.
So what it is it's a New York sour.
Oh.
So New York sour. So I took 2 ounces of Wyoming whiskey, which I found on clearance at the liquor store here.
Baby.
And then you've got your lemon juice. I guess I can tell you we got ourselves an ounce of lemon juice. We got 3/4 ounce of simple syrup. And we have
just
an
a traditional simple.
Yeah, I just made it. I just had organic cane sugar that I just made a simple.
Love it, dude.
I didn't feel like doing dimmer. I think that would kind of ruined it too much.
No, I like the cane for
I think
those
so too.
Citrus drinks.
So a popular take on the sour is the New York sour is where you float a Cabernet on top of it.
Yep.
So I had a Syrah that I took the remainder of a bottle from work last night.
Sure.
And I floated it on, and I didn't have the right spoon to let it not settle on itself. But the egg white gives me that nice frothiness, and I can tell you this thing is fucking delicious.
As always, dude, you always make good cocktails. Love it.
Oh my God, that's delicious.
Do you have other drinks like ready to go though? I can tell you're going to be gone with this one. Like this one's going to be done in like the next 10 minutes.
I did have another one, but I don't have any more lemon juice, so I can't.
I don't even mean like another cocktail. I just meant like you got some beers and reload.
Okay. I got beers.
Just making sure.
Yeah, this one's going quick.
Cool. Even the last one was you were gone with that, and like that thing was gone in like the first like 15 minutes of the episode.
All right, well let's jump into this, dude. I'm sure you got lots to talk about.
Let's do the Montauk Project. Yeah, I mean, I got a little bit to say about this whole thing.
Okay.
I spent all this time writing the script. I might as well talk about it.
Exactly.
All right, Jamie, are you ready for the Montauk Project?
Yeah, I just told you I was. What's that? Well, that's X-Files.
Yeah.
She's yelling at me through the door.
The systems are overloading in an underground facility. Alarms stutter, lights flash and bursts. Technicians are running around, shouting at each other, trying to avert something that they don't even clearly understand. Conflicting orders are being shouted. Kill the feed! Cut the power! It's not responding! Panels flash red, readouts spitting on incomprehensible value. A man is strapped into a wired, heavily instrumented chair, electrodes strapped to his head, sweat pouring down his face. Operators are flipping switches and rerouting circuits. They're clearly running out of options. The atmosphere almost feels like a controlled experiment, crossing a line from controlled into chaos. A vortex forms in a way that's visible, not metaphorical. There's a heat haze effect in a cold room. Shadows start bending in the wrong directions. Reflections aren't lining up. But this isn't machinery that's failing. It's responding.
The time is now.
It's not shouted. It's not said in a panicked way. It's calm and deliberate. Something manifests in the distortion. The vortex spins, and inside something condenses into a massive, unstable form. A humanoid monster, tall, muscular, fucking naked, with a beak-like mouth, steps through the haze and begins ripping through the room in a frenzy. Its claws rip through metal like pieces of paper.
It's the
equipment shakes. Pipes groan. Debris is lifting into the air. Personnel panic. Some flee and some freeze where they stand. An operator slams a physical cutoff switch. But nothing happens. The experiment has gone out of control until the main power line is physically severed. The vortex bursts into a blast of light and then collapses into sudden darkness. In that blackout, the creature vanishes instantly. Moments ago, the world felt like it was ending. Now, everything is dead still. This is the scene of the alleged Montauk incident. The moment conspiracy lore says shut down the most infamous experiment of Cold War conspiracy.
Whoa. So,
yeah, dude.
Like you were saying before, if this sounds like you've heard this story before, it's because this is what they got Stranger Things from. Except for that whole part about being in a chair has nothing to do with Stranger Things.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. Like when they, like in the last season where they like showed that Elle was like in the thing, like the floaty thing
with electrodes,
right?
and
Think
stuff.
about it the same way.
Yeah.
Like she's in like the salt. What do they call those? Like a salt bath or something.
The assault
like a sensory deprivation tank.
Yeah, exactly.
This is kind of like a previous version of that, but yeah.
Well, like you said before, originally, the original name that the Duffel brothers came up with for Stranger Things was Montauk. And obviously, the government couldn't have that, so it was quickly shut down because people didn't need to know what
you
they're
think
doing.
They changed the name because the government?
You can't name it off of our shit. People can't know what we're doing. We already lost a monster. We've already created Lyme's disease.
Dude, you were so bought into this. See, I'm on the opposite side. We'll talk about this later. See, I thought that they changed it from the name Montauk because of funding and how expensive it would be to shoot on Long Island versus a random town in Hawkins, like fictional town in Indiana. So I guess we're just coming from different sides of this whole thing. But hey, maybe, oh my God, it's gone.
As one does.
Wow. So anyways, so this whole series is, we're going to go through the entirety of the Montauk Project and how it honestly, I mean, I don't know. I saw someone the other day that was maybe arguing that Stranger Things is the biggest television event in history. Would you say that it's kind of like this last season is as anticipated as like Breaking Bad was big? What were other big TV shows? Game of Thrones. Lost. Do you think this is bigger than all of those?
No.
You don't?
And the only reason why I don't, I think it's because of streaming. I think because everything is on, like certain people don't buy Netflix because they want Paramount Plus, where I remember when Lost was the finale, everyone fucking watched it because everyone had cable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. I think that this has to be, I mean, if especially if we're tapping into Netflix, it's got to be the most watched thing on Netflix in, let's call it a week-long period, you know, and the box office, or like let's call it a weekend or whatever.
Yeah, well, it's the second show to ever break
Netflix,
to break Netflix. So
to crash the servers.
So it crashed the servers on Wednesday.
I didn't know that.
And the only other show to do that was Stranger Things last season.
Oh, really? Well. I didn't know that. That's funny. So they did something interesting, and we'll get eventually into the story, but there was something I heard. So I had a friend that was watching it on Wednesday night, and apparently she like clicked like play episode, and it wasn't a normal like release. Like you watched them as they were being released on Wednesday night. So it was like a regular TV event type thing on Netflix on Wednesday night. So you couldn't, like, I was talking to a friend and they're like, no, I fell asleep for a minute and I went to go backwards and I couldn't go backwards. So it wasn't like your typical streaming type programming until Thursday.
Oh, so they just like kind of did like a live. It's kind of like on YouTube where we do.
It was like a live stream,
a premiere where you do like a premiere of it. That's smart.
Yep. Yeah, I thought that was really cool. I haven't heard of Netflix doing that before. Like I've heard of them just dropping episodes and then, you know, you can forward, backward, whatever. And they started at 8 p.m. on like here. I guess maybe it was 8 p.m. like as it rolled across the world.
Okay.
And the 4 episodes got to midnight, and then from midnight you could go back and watch it after that. But
that was probably the way
that was really cool.
That's probably how they made it to where it didn't crash it.
Yeah, it could be. Anyways, enough about Stranger Things. Let's talk about the real story. And to understand what happened in the underground base we were just talking about, the panic, the distortion, the voice, excellent voice work, Jamie, we have to go all the way back before the experiments, before rumors, before even legend. We go to the edge of Long Island to a Cold War relic built for a different kind of war. That is where the story really begins, at Camp Hero. Now,
the Guitar Hero.
Yeah. Camp Guitar Hero. Man, I can imagine the amount of wedgies that needed to be given out at Camp Guitar Hero.
Tons.
You're nailing it, dude. Did you ever get into Guitar Hero?
No.
I had friends that were so into it, and I was so bad at it. I'm also not a great guitar player to begin with, and I had friends that were like, oh, I'm so good at guitar, but I can't play Guitar Hero. And then I had friends that were like, I've literally never picked up a guitar in my life, and I can smoke anyone in this game.
Yeah, I thought I'd rather play a regular guitar than play Guitar Hero.
Yeah. Yep.
I'm like, you're playing one of those guys. You're playing a piano is what you're doing.
a five button piano.
Yeah. Did you ever watch that South Park where the dad's like, look, I can play this song on actual guitar.
When he turns into Steamy Nicks.
Yeah. And he does the F word. He does the hard F word, they call him.
Yep.
Bring back that, dude. Bring back slurs.
Bring it back. Oh my gosh, say that. All right. So are we gonna jump into Camp Hero?
Let's freaking do it.
So this whole story obviously takes place on Montauk Point. Now, Montauk Point is the literal end of the world, you could say, as far as U.S. geography is concerned. It's the very, very end tip of Long Island, all the way out into the Atlantic. There's quiet roads, windswept cliffs, and a sense of being removed from pretty much the rest of the world there. Camp Hero was built in 1942 as a coastal defense installation during World War II. Now, we haven't ever done a World War II episode, and we will never do a World War II episode because we are straight up not smart enough to do so. But during World War II, the German military had these U-boats, submarines, that they used to just kind of troll the coast of America, trying to pick off Navy ships after the U.S. had gotten into World War II. Now, they built Camp Hero and disguised it as a fishing village from above. So they would fly these planes off of aircraft carriers, the German military would, and they'd look for bases and they'd bomb them, obviously. So they made the bait, or the Camp Hero, disguised as like this fishing village. There were like fake rooftops that were like made of grass, and they had like fake houses that housed these massive artillery guns that were meant for literally shooting down these U-boats and these aircraft carriers off the coast of New York, pretty much, because apparently at that time everyone was super terrified that New York was going to get hit by U-boats, and so they were like, hey, why don't we make Long Island the base? And it makes a whole lot of sense. But anyways, the secrecy at Montauk didn't start with conspiracies, as we'll later get into. It started with simple military trickery. Now, after World War II, the base turned into Montauk Air Force Station, which was part of a SAGE semi-automatic ground environment early warning radar network. Pretty much, it turned from this anti-air or like anti-boat artillery station into something that was meant for detecting nukes in the Cold War. So they shifted from coastal defense to electromagnetic surveillance. And there was this crazy classified nature of Cold War radar operations that were happening, not just in the US, not just in Russia, all across the world. For some reason, everyone got super invested into spying, and radar became like the coolest thing in the world.
So this is where we're talking about where they had the first ever FPS 35 radar tower, correct, Pete?
Yeah. Yeah. It's massive, big. Yeah. Anyways, you know more about this than I do.
Yeah. So there's one of only 12 where ever built, and this is the only one still standing today. The dish weighed over 70 tons and dominated the skylines, the giant skylines of Montauk. Locals claim the tower hummed at night or made the ground vibrate. This tower becomes the icon of Montauk and the centerpiece of future conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely like has this like look of once. I think they maybe built the tower after World War II, and it like rises up out of nowhere, and then just has this like you said, a 70-ton radar dish that is meant to detect like nuclear electromagnetic frequencies. Is like the perfect place to be like, hey, what's that thing? And why is it so big? And what does it do? By the late 1970s, the SAGE technology, which this radar tower was part of, pretty much becomes obsolete. Montauk Air Force Station officially shuts down in 1981. The buildings are sealed, some are left open, tunnels, bunkers, and power stations begin decaying. The base takes on its modern identity, an eerie Cold War relic that has turned into ruin. But since its construction in World War II and all through its operation and even after its closure, the locals have reported, like Jamie said, odd hums and strange vibrations in the ground, lights at night. Fishermen are often picking up interference on their radios near Montauk Point. Some hikers notice like sealed off structures and ventilation shafts, like way away from all the buildings. There's weird signage. Some say that it's closed due to this. Others things say that it's closed due to this. Some say, oh, radioactive areas. Others are like, keep out, and like have like city watch type stuff on it. There's rumors of deep tunnels, and the base supposedly had no need for these tunnels and how deep they went. Some locals insist that trucks and unmarked vans still entered at night long after the base was closed. Now, at first, these stories remained kind of like on the fringe. They were, let's call them like Long Island legend type stories, not yet like a total national legend, though.
I believe there was a turning point in this to where it went from being completely condemned to where the local stories kind of realized there was something about this. So those local stories soon became a national phenomenon when the man named Preston fucking Nichols. I mean, if you don't remember this guy, he was the guy that wrote the Montauk Project, Experiments in Time.
Now, Experiments in Time.
So once this book comes out, this transforms Camp Hero from a local curiosity into a cultural phenomenon. So his book reframes the entire base as the site of underground experiments.
Yeah. So, exactly. Introduced like the ridiculous Stranger Things intro. Everything up to this point is actual documented history. We have the radar systems and the Cold War infrastructure and this base that is decommissioned and falling into decay. But as Jamie mentioned, in 1992, the entire story changes. One man steps forward claiming that the base never shut down at all, and that he had actually been part of something buried beneath, both literally, metaphorically. To follow the Montauk legend, that too. It's all of. We're gonna be using a lot of big words, and no offense, this is a drinking show. So if we stumble over a word or two here or there, as T-Pain said, blame it on the alcohol.
Exactly. Internet truce.
Yeah. So to follow the Montauk legend as it exists today, we have to follow this man, Preston Nichols, who was an electrical engineer who said that he lost time but found it again.
So I can stop you there. Can I ask a personal question?
Yeah.
Have you read this book?
I have listened to this book.
So it's damn near same thing.
Yeah, for sure. Audible, thanks.
Is this dude as crazy as he seems in all the stories that I've heard?
I don't even know how to answer that. Mostly because, like, as we do this show, we are conspiracy-minded people, right? Mm-hmm. It's kind of the age-old X-Files thing I want to believe. And it's tough getting through this book because as I was listening to it, this book is going to go from honestly, like, I don't want to say really like verified scientific, but let's call it very plausible to a little bit crazy. And then eventually, as we'll get to, um, it goes to like practically impossible and maybe like the most disgusting and morally bankrupt program that I've heard the US complicit in ever. So to answer your question, is
Maybe.
Preston Nichols crazy? Maybe. Is the story crazy? 100%.
That was the most political answer that I've ever heard. It's like,
you're welcome. Answer
the
Daily 2028, man.
How are you going to combat climate change? So let me tell you one thing about climate change. So when you go to New York City and you go into a store, you open up that door, you walk through, you get yourself a pack of cigarettes. When you get those cigarettes, you give them the $20, you tell them keep the change because you're good, law-abiding American. So from there, you go down, you get yourself a sandwich. And that's how you're going to fight climate change.
Yep.
You're like, you just said a bunch of words that had nothing to do with the question that I asked.
I think it's really hard for me because I want to believe, but as we keep dealing with in this podcast, I would say before we started this podcast, I was a much more conspiracy believer. And having done the research in this podcast for whatever we're covering, there's lots of different conspiracies, all the way from DIA, 3X. What are the other ones that we've covered?
How is 3X a conspiracy? He was a murderer.
Yeah, but he was like maybe a Russian agent. We don't have to get into that. Go back and listen to that one. It's like episode 12.
Yeah, Kelly Hopkinsville Goblins.
Oh, Hopkinsville Goblins. Yeah, anything that's involving aliens definitely dips into the conspiracy. Although not really anymore because government says this shit all happened. So anyways.
Yes.
I
all right.
digress. Look at me digress right now. I'm digressing.
Sorry I got you so far removed from what we were talking about.
Anyways, as I'm researching these things, I become more and more skeptical because I just want to make fun of them. Because it all sounds so dumb. But if all this really happened, man, government has some splaining to do.
Right. Look, I got a new one.
Did you make a new one or did you just pour wine in your cup?
I got wine in the cup.
Yeah, exactly. I watched you. You're not that sneaky. You still got a little foam layer on the top.
A little frothy kind of looks like it.
Yeah, I know. I can see it.
Just drinking red wine out of my coupe.
Drinking Syrah out of a coupe. That's my coupe, dude.
It's delicious, dude.
All right. So again, back to this, where we even started this whole thing. We have to talk about Preston Nichols because it is his word and his alone that we are going to be taking for this entire episode. There have been other books that have been written, mostly that are somehow corroborating these stories. But Preston Nichols' Montauk Project, Experiments in Time, is going to be our, let's call it the Bible for this episode. All the stories that we'll be telling, the entire storyline is based off of his own words, and this is it. So Preston sees himself as an electrical engineer, and then he also thinks himself as a very good storyteller. So he's obsessed with signals as an electrical engineer, equipment, signals, measurable phenomena in the world of electromagnetism. He frames himself as very methodical, logical, keep that in mind, and trained to trust data. This becomes like super important because the claims ahead eventually venture in the realm of the literal impossible. But Preston insists that they simply began with very small technical anomalies. Now, Preston is fascinated by electromagnetic fields as well as consciousness. What he also says about himself is that he favors himself a bit of a parapsychologist, claiming that he has degrees in this, which I don't know where you get parapsychology degrees, but he claims that he has them.
What is parapsychology?
So
for us Wyoming folk?
Parapsychology is, it's dealing with the brain interacting with what we would consider the paranormal. So think of hypnotism or mind erasing, mind control, mental projection, telepathy, telekinesis. Think of the things that your brain is able to do. A parapsychologist analyzes that.
So a crazy person believe or okay, all right, go on.
For in less words than I said, yes, a crazy person.
Is he the only documented parapsychologist to ever been around?
0%. Pretty much a parapsychologist is going to be anyone that is claiming to be a fortune teller, a mind reader, a medium, a psychic, any of that. They are parapsychologists.
Well, I thought they were all religious. I thought that was a spiritualism. I thought that was like the government made that a religion so they didn't like get burned at the stake for being witches. That's why there's like experiment camps and stuff. I didn't know there was like an actual school for it. I thought they just went and hung out in like southern Florida together.
There aren't schools for it. You can go to what's the place in Arizona you always talk about? Sedona. You can go hang out in Sedona for a while, pick up on energies. That place
we went to Casadega.
You're always talking about Florida. Casadega.
Yeah, Casadega. Yeah. We went to Casadega. It was wild, man.
No shit. Yeah. It's a bunch of people that think they can see the future. No fucking wonder it's weird.
I felt something, dude. I felt something there.
How much beer did you drink?
There? None, dude. We're on a tour. But we went into their seance. They let us they opened the door to their seance room in the back of the church. Cool. And that was like the most numbing feeling I've ever felt in my life. Like I was like, there's shit in there. There are things in there that I don't know about. So
yeah, that's when I was like,
all right, there goes.
Maybe you're a freaking reader, dude. You should look into a parapsychology degree.
I'm thinking about making a change in life anyway. So
I know you were looking about a changing career. This could be it. You're going to totally change the trajectory of this podcast by becoming a parapsychologist. Anyways, so Preston, we know he actually kind of has, at least seems somewhat, listening to the book, adept at understanding specifically the science behind electromagnetism. And what he starts researching is the fringe intersection between electromagnetic fields and psychic activity. Pretty much how brains can affect the world around us, specifically electromagnetic fields, which are everywhere. And I think that's real. I don't know if that's real or not, but I can see, you think of like string theory, like all things vibrate and there's different fields and stuff like that. I don't know. I'm just waving my hands around like I'm Lana Del Rey. So just imagine.
Well, it makes people believe you.
A lot of Lana Del Reys are just out in the ether, just vibing, dude.
Yeah. I thought that was how you're a politician still. So you talk with your hands like this, everyone's going to want to be engaged with what you're talking about.
Well, you told me I need to, so that's what I'm doing.
I said, hey, maybe. Fair enough.
So anyways, he reads all of these parapsychology papers, and then he starts working with these local psychics in Long Island. I have never been to Long Island, but have you?
No, I've been to
apparently it's
Brooklyn and Manhattan.
Yeah, but I'm sure you've been to New Jersey and Philly. You've been at least to the Jersey Shore. I'm sure that there's quite a number of local psychics. Do you see like boards up for that?
No, I'm south. I'm not like north, so.
Well, I don't know a ton about Long Island, but apparently it's littered with psychics.
Okay.
And he takes in these psychics and runs experiments to detect measurable reactions to electromagnetic waves happening in different ways that they try to manipulate things. Now, these tests become the early foundation for everything that he later connects to the Montauk Project. Now, at one point, this man named Duncan Cameron comes across Preston Nichols, not as a scientist, but Preston is also serving as a simple repairman, especially for electronic equipment. Duncan Cameron shows up at Preston's workshop with a malfunctioning radio gear. Now, Preston immediately repairs it. He's kind of a whiz with this stuff, but he notices something strange. Duncan reacts to Preston's electromagnetic fields that he has in his workshop. I don't know how he does this, but apparently there's just inside his workshop, just like, whoa, 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 just like always electromagnetic fields going off. And this guy, Duncan, reacts like immediately.
He's like, whoa, so Preston, whoa, hey, what?
Hey, man, what are you doing here, man?
What are you doing, dude? You're on different wavelengths, man.
Yeah, bro. You vibing different than my guy, dude?
So obviously a surfer.
Anyways. Yeah, dude. Yeah, on Long Island, there's actually a lot of surfing. So we'll just assume that Duncan is 100% a surfer and Preston is a fucking nerd who has never surfed in his life. So anyways, Duncan's like, whoa, man, what do you got going on in this workshop? Like, my wavelength is totally not this. Preston convinces Duncan to join this testing group of the local psychics, and he quickly becomes the most responsive subject. Now, this is Preston's first hint in the book that Duncan is different.
So as Preston continues his experience, he begins to notice something bizarre. At the exact same time every day, multiple psychics, including Duncan, lose all of their abilities. Not a fade, a total shutdown. Preston concludes that the cause is external, powerful, and operating on the same schedule.
Yeah, so as from what I could understand in the book, like he's a note taker. Let's like make sure that that's known. He considers himself super logical, which is like kind of why you trust him in the first place. It's why the claims later, maybe they're possible, because he presents himself as this guy that is just very logical in the way that he works. He notices that at the exact same time every single day, anyone that he's working with, other psychics, specifically Duncan, he mentions in the book, they drop out, like all their power, everything that he's measuring, all of a sudden just closes up, and they have no control over any of the electromagnetic frequencies that their brains are emitting.
A wormhole.
Because of this, well, I don't know. Nichols embarks on a mission to identify this phenomena interfering with his work. He's kind of pissed about it. So he builds this do-it-yourself radio frequency tracking rig, and he starts mapping the blackout. So every single day from this certain time frame, it's like 11:34 to 1:25, all of his psychics lose power. So he bolts a TV antenna to his car, wires these homemade receivers together. Maybe you've seen this in the most recent episode of Stranger Things.
Definitely the first episode of Stranger Things is exactly paying homage to this.
Literally, he's driving around Long Island, just like in the first episode or like in Stranger Things, locating these radio frequencies that are dropping all the power of his psychics.
Also, not to interrupt, I'm sorry. Like when you brought up the first episode of Stranger Things, did you not think that they purposely made 11 dress up like Josh Brolin from the Goonies?
I don't know. I'd have to look it up. I have to look it up now.
Wearing that all gray like sweatpants and then having the shorts over it. I'm like, this is like Josh Brolin. They're doing Goonies.
It's literally the definition of it. And I'm pretty sure that's the outfit she has for the rest of the show. So enjoy it.
Oh, thank you.
At least that's really funny just because I looked at the picture and it's spot on, my friend. Good work. Yeah. I didn't have that kind of memory of the Goonies. You definitely do.
I'm older than you.
Yeah, you've seen Goonies a lot more than I have, I think.
I have. All right.
Anyways,
sorry. Carry on.
After weeks of data, and Preston is driving around Long Island, trying to find somewhere. Every single time the radio, like his dumb little thing on the top of his car, leads him directly to Montauk Air Force Station. Now, eventually Preston gets the courage up and attempts to investigate Camp Hero, aka Montauk Air Force Station. Believing the base is abandoned. Yeah, Camp Guitar Hero. Preston drives up to the gate. Now, what is strange is that armed guards appear immediately when he shows up. They turn him away firmly, which is contradictory to public record, claiming that the base was closed years ago. This becomes the seed of suspicion that will inspire Preston's actions from here on out.
What'd they do with him?
What's up?
What did they do? They were like, did they pull him in?
Hey, you gotta freaking get out of here, dude. No, he's turned away. They're like, hey, go on, get
out of here, dude. You're not supposed to be in our secret underground base, dude.
You know, Preston's like pushing his glasses up and is like, okay, I guess I'll go home.
I'm picturing like Doc from Back to the Future. That's a movie from the 80s too, Peter, since you're so young.
I actually just watched Back to the Future quite recently. Wow, that is a fucking fantastic film. I watched 1 and 2. I haven't watched 3 yet because Amber needs to watch 2 because I won't watch 3 because then she'll be mad at me.
I feel they're great movies. We almost went to the musical the other day, but I hate musicals, so we didn't.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
All right, where were we?
Driven by his suspicion, he begins talking to locals, which only deepens the mystery.
A local describes the hums, the vibrations, and the late night trucks entering the base after closure. So this is the things that we were talking about earlier, is that hum that we kind of heard that they brought up
hums and vibrations
back in the day, but those things are still happening even after it's closed. So it makes me think. Exactly. So stories of animals behaving erratically, including elk stampedes throughout town, rumors of deeper tunnels than a radar station should ever need, and these stories reinforce Preston's belief that something underground is active. So it's exactly everything that they talked about back in the day. But now people are just telling him these stories. Yeah, so it sounds like he went and asked people, like, what's going on? I was like, well, I hear that there's tunnels. So,
like we mentioned, like Preston's book is the thing that launches this from the local Montauk legend or the Long Island legend into fringe fame, I guess I'd call it. You know, it becomes the conspiracy. And again, like we mentioned, these little things were all local legends. Now they're in Preston's worldwide published book. It becomes a much bigger deal. Eventually, Nichols' obsession fades because after a couple years, the trail goes cold and he can't find anything. So he refocuses his life and gets back to work. But then a friend calls him and says, hey, Camp Hero, Montauk Air Force Station is finally really shut down. If you want answers, go now.
Ooh.
Nichols spent years trying to make sense of the signals in his equipment, the guards at a supposedly abandoned Air Force base, and the strange reactions from Duncan, Cameron, and other psychics. But then came a phone call, the one that told him Camp Hero was finally and officially closed. So he went back, and what he found wasn't abandonment or closure, but an evacuation. Because when Preston stepped through the gates the second time, he expected an empty shell. Instead, it felt like whoever had been there had left moments before he got there.
Oh, that's how movies are made.
Pretty much, yeah. When Preston gets there, he's expecting this dead relic that has been closed for years. This is about 2 or 3 years after his initial visit, that we just talked to. And this return should feel like he's going back to this place that he's gonna kind of see and disregard. However, he notices immediately that the gate mechanisms still move slowly. They're not rusted. They are very smooth, oiled, like someone has been there the whole time. The buildings look abandoned, but there's something just a little bit off. Their buildings are deserted, but not aged at all. Paperwork is still on desks. Tools lie mid-task. Chairs are toppled over. Doors have been forced open. Wires dangle. There's scorch marks in isolated areas. There's a wall calendar frozen mid-month, not the end of the month, as in an official shutdown. And that was only a few days later. The entire space feels evacuated, not decommissioned. Now, Nichols finds some equipment that he doesn't think is supposed to be there. There are experimental consoles, experimental electromagnetic gear, and prototype systems remaining through the entire base. Some devices are even warm or softly humming, as if they're still winding down. Others are missing entirely. Shelves are wiped clean as if in a hurry. A single monitor displays static with rhythmic pulses still happening. For one reason or another, Preston concludes that the real work must have occurred somewhere deeper in the facility. As Preston continues to explore the base, he runs into, in his own words, a homeless man. He's living near the back of the base. This homeless man talks to Preston. He says that a creature just recently had torn through the facility. He also, and this is where the whole game changes, claims that Preston Nichols worked there and that they had worked together. This homeless guy worked with Preston. The man warns him.
That's not crazy at all.
When you meet a homeless guy that's like, hey, man, how was your birthday on Saturday? And you're like, I don't know you. Why do you know that? He's like, well, we worked here on this military base.
Exactly. Also didn't know it was his birthday.
Yep. Well, now he didn't even know it was his own birthday.
Right.
He made it up and he told everyone it was his birthday so he could have the fucking weekend off. But he lied.
Yeah, piece of shit.
So, anyways, this man warns him, don't go downstairs. This event with the homeless man becomes Preston's first major, what we would call memory fracture moment. And we'll cover what this means later, but for now, just think of it as something being jogged loose in his memory.
Nichols returns with Duncan, his most promising subject. He brings Duncan back to test whether he recognizes the base. Duncan reacts strongly. Familiarity with the layout, visible distress, recognition without context. He pauses at certain doorways, tells Preston what is on the other side before they even enter, and he's always right. Preston interprets this as an evidence that Duncan's history with the base prededicates Duncan's and his own consciousness memory.
So, yeah, like pretty much he comes back and Duncan is like reacting to all this crazy stuff. It's a crazy part of the book where Duncan's seeing things. He's like, oh, that's where I used to eat lunch. And there's where Julie worked. Fucking bitch.
That's wow. That's where One-Eyed Pete, the homeless man, used to work.
Yeah, you remember that guy that's the homeless guy right over there? The guy that keeps yelling at us and jerking off? He works right there. Preston and Duncan leave the facility, but Preston is full on in belief that there's something in his own brain and Duncan's as well that is they're conscious, like unconsciously recognizing things, whether they can remember being there or not. There's something going on to where they know this place even though they can't remember it. In Preston's version of the story, he claims that he worked at a lab as an electrical scientist, engineer, whatever, that served as a government contractor named BJM. I have seen a couple different places that have tried to figure out where this place could have been, because he lists it he in his own book says, oh, this is not the actual company's name. I'm using it as a pseudonym. It's called BJM. But if you flip it, it is AIL. Pretty much if you move every single letter up a notch in the alphabet, it becomes this AIL, which is American Intelligence something, which is it starts with an L. I don't know.
Okay.
Logistics or something like that. So an actual government contractor, Preston claims that he worked at this place, BJM. And if you change all the letters up one in the alphabet, it's this actual government contractor, AIL, who have no records of Preston ever working there. But we're just going to go right past that because he doesn't explain it in the book at all. He just says that he worked at this place with the pseudonym BJM. Now, while working at BJM, this is a few weeks after his venture the second time with Preston or with Duncan to the Montauk Air Force Station. So he gets an odd feeling that just tells him to go to this building on the BJM campus. Now, when he walks up, he knows that he doesn't have clearance to get in this building, but the guard outside the building recognizes him, greets him by name, says, "Hello, Preston."
Ooh.
Issues him new credentials, like a new badge, without hesitation, and lets him right in. Now, inside this building, he walks down a hallway and finds a desk with his own name on it. There are equipment, there's files, and like I said, his desk with a nameplate on it. There's a half-completed project sitting on his bench, as if he stepped away mid-task. Now, Preston doesn't remember any of this, but this event confirms Preston's suspicions that he and perhaps even Duncan have been victims of memory manipulation, aka their minds had been wiped. Now, almost on cue, following this event at BJM, Preston begins having dreams that feel vividly like lived experiences. He sees electromagnetic tools, gets like smells of equipment, and certain frequencies trigger flashbacks for him. He recalls brief, contextless images of labs, hallways, and glowing equipment. He's apparently just having all these dreams. Then he goes to therapy, and these therapy sessions begin to pull out more fragments to the surface. Obviously, Preston's in therapy because he fucking needs it. So
I figured he wouldn't listen to anyone else other than himself.
Yeah. So these scattered memories start forming the outline of something that he would refer to as Project Phoenix. Now, what Preston found the day at BJM wasn't proof, it was a possibility. And if his memories were broken, he now believed something or someone had broken them. But to understand what he thought was happening beneath Camp Hero, aka the Montauk Air Force Station, we have to follow him into the project he claimed he was a chief part of, the one called Project Phoenix. Now, literally, this is, I don't know what, do they have a name for it in Stranger Things?
No.
Where they're making all the children into psychic beings?
No, I don't remember. It's been so long since season 4 came out. I had to watch recaps to figure out what I was trying to look.
That's fair. This is where we go from Preston sounding very, let's call it even reasonable, logical. He has a pretty sound grasp of electromagnetism, even certain parts of psychology. He walks through, especially when we're talking about he has honestly a pretty decently credible relaying of information that was oh, this is actually how this would happen in a psychologist or a therapist or a psychiatrist's office. But with Project Phoenix, and this is, I'd never heard of Project Phoenix before this book, but Project Phoenix is what they're going to kind of be interchangeably used, the Montauk Project. Or let's call the Montauk Project a subsidiary, a piece of this massive other project called Project Phoenix.
Why don't we just change it to Order of the Phoenix? That way it's easier for us to remember.
There we go. Yeah. Change it. So the notorious Order of the Phoenix, no, we're going to call it the Project Phoenix, appears throughout Preston's fragmented memories. It's resurfacing as this recurring item. It represents not a single experiment, but a whole program. Its one stated goal was to explore and weaponize the relationship between electromagnetic fields and human consciousness. Phoenix believed that the thread tying together the blackout events, Duncan's reactions, and Preston's missing time, it becomes this weird, it's the thing that ties everything together, Project Phoenix. Preston claims that Project Phoenix grew out of Cold War research projects. There were alleged connections that included Project Artichoke as well as MK Ultra and various electromagnetic warfare initiatives. Jamie, can you tell us about MK Ultra?
MK Ultra? Yeah.
Yeah.
So MK Ultra was a real CIA program focused on mind control, hypnosis, and sensory deprivation, and with psychics. Attempts to probe limits of human consciousness and control.
And then, as we mentioned, Project Artichoke was kind of the precursor to MK Ultra, and it explored interrogation methods, hypnosis, and like psychological pressure. In many ways, it was MK Ultra's prototype. There were a lot of different other Cold War electromagnetic programs focused on radar disruption, low frequency fields, and electronic interference, technical backdrop that made Phoenix's ambitions seem somewhat plausible. I'm not going to get into the science of electromagnetism because I don't fucking get it, and I'm not smart enough.
Okay, I feel
Maybe those
that.
are the same things.
Yeah.
But anyways, as we mentioned, Project Phoenix blended psychology, parapsychology, and advanced electrical engineering. To Nichols, the central idea was to combine psychic sensitivity with electronic amplification. Now, how exactly was Preston recruited to work on such secret and important projects? Well, according to Preston himself, he recalls being approached not through formal channels, but kind of gradually moved out of the normal scientific work that he was doing into more clandestine operations. And he mentioned that, like, colleagues of his that were higher ups would just kind of keep having him work on things that were moving him up the ladder without him even asking to be promoted. He was slowly, through maybe his professionalism and how good he was with details, I guess, moved up the ladder into these more clandestine, secretive operations. But then he's kind of started to be shown around these laboratories. And this is all recovered from Preston's memories, but he remembers like walking through laboratories that he can say that he doesn't know. He has no he doesn't recognize any of the layouts immediately, but he feels familiar with them. He dreams of hallways that feel familiar, and there's equipment like configurations of these weird electromagnetic devices that somehow just instantly makes sense to him, even though he's never really looked. Like he says that I've never seen them before, but they make sense to me. These memories return to him as he explores the ruin of the Montauk station. This convinces him that as he's looking at these broken down machines and these dank, dark, abandoned hallways, that he's worked there before, and that all of this occurred during a time period that is completely missing from his own brain.
So, according to Preston, the other main character in this story, Duncan Cameron, becomes central to the Project Phoenix due to his extremely sensitivity to electromagnetic fields. He demonstrates the ability to influence equipment without touching it. His reactions are measurable, moderate spikes, fields distortions, and anomalous reading. Preston concludes Phoenix used Duncan as a psychic signal source.
Yeah, this part of the book was kind of like where, again, we start to go a little bit more. Every time he brings Duncan back in, it just amplifies how off the wall his claims are going to be, and they just keep escalating. So as Jamie said, like, Preston's saying that he's having these recovered memories of these labs that he worked in and electromagnetic tools and this and that. And then all of a sudden he brings Duncan back into the story and he says, oh, well, they actually were using, like, Project Phoenix was using Duncan as this psychic who could project things. But anyways, through therapy and memory recovery sessions, Preston recalls experiments in which Duncan's emotions were electronically amplified. Fear, anger, and calm each produced distinctly measurable signatures. The team discovers that emotions could influence electromagnetic fields under controlled conditions. But this breakthrough becomes the foundation for what will later be the defining theory for the work done during the time of the Montauk Project. Eventually, Preston experiences emotional reactions that don't match his current memories. Certain words or equipment, and even like personnel, like he sees like in the base different names on boards, they trigger sudden panic or familiarity, and he begins keeping a journal of these reactions to help kind of map the gaps in his own identity. But every entry always points back to the notorious Project Phoenix. Piece by piece, Preston reconstructs a project that he insisted he'd once been a part of. Project that blended psychology, electronics, and something far stronger and stranger. And at the center of all of it was this crazy experiment, unlike anything else, a tool called the Montauk Chair. Now, the Montauk Chair, like we kind of talked about at the beginning of this episode, think of it like Elle's sensory deprivation tank, where in Stranger Things, Elle is hooked up to all these different electrodes and is able to mentally project or whatever, do all of her powers in this like salt bath. They had this chair. It is the culmination of Project Phoenix research. It's a device that is built to amplify the psychic signals through electromagnetic fields. Nichols insists that the chair could translate thoughts into measurable physical phenomena, meaning he could make things appear or start to move in the real world just by using his brain. This is the point. Again, like I said, every time he brings up Duncan, and Duncan is the primary user of the Montauk Chair, his story elevates into the next level of craziness, I guess I would say, moving from plausible, from logical, plausible,
you said it, not me,
getting there to kind of crazy. And this, again, is with the chair marking the shift from strange into, as I would see it, outright impossible. Now, the chair allegedly used electromagnetically enhanced biofeedback systems. That's a lot of big words, but pretty much what it means is that as Duncan was in the chair, he would be able to affect the electromagnetic waves coming out into the world around him through biofeedback systems, meaning like through, like we talked about, through his emotions. There were sensors that mapped his brainwave pattern and routed them through these super complex electromagnetic amplifiers. Now, Preston recalls an array of coils, shielding panels, and phase lock loops that were tuned to certain human brain frequencies. And the goal of this whole thing, I'll kind of explain that a little bit more in a second, was to strengthen the psychic output to a level that the base could detect and interact with. So Preston, as a guy of science, is trying to figure out how to fine tune these little sensors that are all over Duncan's head and his body and stuff like that. They're trying to pick up electromagnetic wavelengths that the actual base can measure, because he's a guy of science. He needs his numbers. He's trying to do this thing from a logical standpoint. Now, Duncan was incredibly sensitive to electromagnetic waves, and that's what makes him a fantastic natural candidate for the chair. As soon as Duncan was seated in the chair, baseline readings spiked. There were distortions, energy pulses, and unexplained fluctuations in their readings would occur often. His emotional state shaped the output. Fear would produce turbulence around him, kind of like we mentioned at the beginning, like shadows start bending in the wrong way. And calm, on the other hand, would
lights start like flickering.
People would like enter like not catatonic states, but like very tranquil, calm. He could affect the entire base when he was sitting in the chair. All the scientists, all the guards, everyone. Some sessions allegedly revealed details that Duncan could not have known, because after they would put him in the chair, they'd take him out and they'd ask him questions and they kind of run him through, typical, I would call it like scientific, what are we talking? Scientific method. They'd start to ask questions and they'd have a hypothesis and then they'd check all these different things. But Duncan was revealing things that he shouldn't have known, as if he was able to see into the future. And in Preston's book, he implies that Duncan was actually not just seeing into the future, but was actually able to travel through time. Nichols frames this as early evidence that the chair could extend consciousness past a local format into not just faraway places, but also faraway times. Now, technicians would test how different emotions triggered influence into the chair. So Duncan was exposed to images, tones, and memory cues to shift his emotional state, and each shift produced a distinctly different electromagnetic pattern. Now, Preston interprets this as forming, like, he used the word psychic language. And I feel like we're getting a little bit into the weeds here, but pretty much what he's saying is that they could influence wherever Duncan felt like going with his mind. He could make people angry. He could make people sad. He could make people calm just by showing him and having him focus on images of things that would make Duncan feel sad or Duncan calm or Duncan angry. So what he calls a psychic language, they knew that they could translate to the outside world these emotions as long as Duncan was projecting through the huge fucking satellite dish on the top of the Montauk Air Force Station.
In one session, this is what you were talking about, Duncan focused intensively on one single object in a chair in another room. So the electrolytes measuring the EM waves registered a sharp spike followed by equipment flickering, just like you talked about before. Corresponding disturbance was reported in a nearby corridor. The chair Duncan was focusing on tipped over. Preston cites that there are moments in the chairs where the output moved him from measurement into influence.
Pretty much what that means is that, so we were talking earlier that Preston could make people feel a certain way, but this is like a huge, again, we go back into Duncan again. This is, Duncan's kind of missing for a little while in the story. And when he brings him back, we were talking about how, like he can make people feel things. But now Duncan comes back and he's able to influence the outside world physically, not emotionally anymore. So he's focusing on a chair in a different room while he's in the chair, right? And according to Preston, he's able to tip that chair over with his mind.
Sick.
Very similar to what happens in Stranger Things. We're talking, it's telekinesis, Kyle.
History
How
of
about
Wonder
the power
Boy, young nasty man. Yeah. Great stuff.
So pretty much that's like the escalation here. And it's huge because we're not just talking about, before this, Preston is a man of science, right? He's measuring electromagnetic waves and stuff like that. But those are just waves. We're not talking about physically altering the world around you, like tipping over a chair in a different room with your brain. The project kind of goes from this and it's like, holy shit, we have something completely different from what we thought we had. If we can influence, just like, as we're seeing in Stranger Things, the ability to influence the world around you with your brain is 100% a superpower. If you have telekinesis versus just making people feel bummed out, it's a totally different thing. Now, operators that helped Duncan in the chair reported dizziness, nausea, and disorientation during high output sessions involving Duncan. There was also repeated equipment malfunctions that would increase as Duncan's intensity increased. So as Duncan gets more and more powerful, we're also seeing the equipment that is supposed to be measuring these things also, and keeping him within this certain room type of thing. All these different things that are supposed to be containing the experiment are starting to fracture. And Preston, in his book, claims that he began to voice his concerns over the work being done by Project Phoenix at this time. But instead of hearing him out and dialing things back, Project Phoenix pushed the boundaries further into darker territories that would have devastating ramifications. And that's where we'll pick back up as we close out part 1 of the Montauk Project.
What?
We are at the threshold. Yeah.
There's more than one part?
1, dude.
I didn't even know that.
I told you about this.
Oh, you told me, but we didn't tell the audience.
We didn't tell the audience.
I am just as shocked as you are.
I feel like we did tell the audience.
Well, maybe we'll see.
But anyways, we're going to leave it
3
here
lines ago.
As Montauk Project is at the threshold of morality and possibility, with the chair pushing human consciousness beyond its limits and Project Phoenix preparing to take the next leap into the dark world of the metaphysical, where reality became simply a veil to pierce, and the human mind became moldable as clay. So join us next time.
We're going to step deeper into this legend, and we promise you that it's not going to take as long as season 4 to season 5 of Stranger Things will take. Maybe in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it might.
We'll be ready for part 2 of this crazy story into, there's no denying how many things you can just relate to what we just said to exactly parts of the seasons of Stranger Things.
Oh, dude, and I don't want to spoil anything, and I'm not going to go there, but like what happens in the Phoenix Project and what we're talking about, the Montauk Project, the last season is digging in, probably the hardest I've seen it dig into the lore of Montauk. It's awesome. So
sweet.
Give these a listen because the parallels are just there to be seen. It's crazy how much they took from Preston Nichols making this story.
Yeah. If someone else wrote it and they're like, I bet this seems like it should be a movie.
And yeah, dude, Preston Nichols died, and the next year they started making the show.
Oh, really? That makes
Royalties
sense.
Gone, dude.
Well, if
Duffer Brothers had this one on lock, dude. They were ready to go as soon as Preston Nichols died.
Well, as we end this chapter, I'm going to say the same sobby stuff that I always say is please, if you liked what we listened to, please like and subscribe to this. Please tell all your friends about it. Tell your friends' friends. Tell your friends' ex-girlfriend's friends. Tell your dogs. We're dog friendly here. Just tell everyone to come listen to us. And
yeah, dude,
we always say, signing off, please stay wicked.
Stay weird. And
Stay away. Stay.